Hi there. Guys, what I'm going to show you are some ways that you can fix your pottery. This is in the bone dry state. It's super fragile, but because it's bone dry, that means all the moisture has evaporated out of it. And when something's bone dry, that's the only time we can use steel wool, because if it's a little moist and the moisture gets on our steel wool, when you put the steel wool away, it actually disintegrates into rust. So please make sure your piece is completely bone dry. If I'm testing it out, I'm going to pull my forearm out and I'm going to sit this piece on my forearm. And if it feels room temperature, it's bone dry. If it's shockingly cold, now sometimes as we get into winter, my room is cold, but if it's shockingly cold, then you know that there's some moisture still in there. I'm using little wax on, wax off. If you've watched Karate Kid, you know what I'm talking about. Little circles with my steel wool. What I need you to remember is never blow your steel, the clay dust into the air. Now, we all have masks on this year, so that kind of prevents that. But normally we would wear a mask anyway and not blow that dust. That dust is extremely bad for you. And this is the final stage. I'm looking through my piece. You can see I've had additive features. I've used a mini extruder to make these lines. I've pinched and added petals. I've carved or subtracted some clay. I've even hammered in to my clay while it was leather hard to give it this hammering texture. A lot of times you'll see that in jewelry. The other thing I have here is I have a slightly damp paper towel. And so if I'm deciding to steel wool, I can have that under my project, and that way it will kind of collect the dust. I have an X-Acto blade out for little areas that didn't quite get cleaned out, or if I have to get some of these boogers in, I'm going to go ahead and just gently, very gently scrape, and then I'll try and get the steel wool to work in. The main part that I need you to check are all of your edges. Now, I'm going to go back and spend a lot more time on my details. However, your bottom surface of your pot that is going to touch the table, this one was not trimmed to be able to have less surface area. So this whole entire space could potentially touch a table. And so I need to do a good amount of steel wooling to make sure that this is safe for a table surface. It would have been better for me to do this during the leather hard stage, but this was a piece that happened in March when the pandemic started, and I've been able to work on it slowly and get it to the point of hopefully getting into the kiln today to get fired, and then it will be bisqueware. But I have to neaten it up before it becomes bisqueware. So at the bone dry state, it's your last chance to do any kind of touch-ups, smoothing, and whatnot. Don't forget to put your first initial, full last name on the bottom, the year or date, and as always, you may add whatever else you want. This piece will be around for a lot longer than I will, because ceramic pottery lasts hundreds and hundreds of years, some even thousands. So just make it work, make it look good, and have fun. Okay. Again, just don't blow the dust. The other thing I have out actually are two dry paint brushes, and I use that to kind of sweep off my dust here, and I can go back in and see where I might need to steel wool some more. Okay, I also have sandpaper. So if sandpaper is something you want to try, that works as well. If you have a very rough surface, I would start with our greater grit sandpaper and then move to steel wool at the very end, because all my steel wool is pretty fine steel wool. All right, so make your pots nice and neat at the bone dry state or leather hard state before the bone dry state, and then check them when they're bone dry before I fire them in the kiln to become bisqueware. Thanks so much. Have a good day.